Hello and welcome to Take Me Through Your Day. On this episode, I have no idea what to tell you. You're probably going to learn something. I don't know what it is, but it's something. It's part 2 of Bill Bailey. Great guy, known the guy for 20 years. He's an amazing person. I just don't have any idea of what direction this went. But it's fun and it's educational and you'll learn something. If you stick through it, you can stick around, you can skip around. No big deal. This is also pre-pandemic. We're just trying to get rid of all these pre-pandemic episodes. But, enjoy it. And if you or someone you know would like to be on the show, you can reach us at the new email, interviews at TakeMeTYD.com. Enjoy it. I mean, just like it's fun. I can't tell you cohesively what this episode is about, but it's something. Enjoy.
So what everyone's already heard is, I think this was on the day you were meeting up with some people to get some of this started. When the last time we met?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who it would have been. Okay, that was a year ago now. Almost.
It was almost a year ago. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I was probably meeting with somebody, probably an organization that I've been working with over the years, working closely with. But yeah, so but in essence, the company that I have, other than the DJing, is called Dwell and Associates. And what we do is we help raise money for charities and nonprofits. And how we do that is we do that through, several ways, but one of the ways is utilizing direct sales companies.
And that was with the utility companies and stuff like that?
Right.
Okay,
right.
So we got a little bit of that going. So
okay.
We have some of that explained already.
Sure.
So let's just take it back to a real simple spot. Like if you were somewhere and you were telling someone what you like at a party, what you do. And you didn't want to say DJ. You wanted to put D-Well out there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say that you do?
I say almost what I just said. And that's just,
it's the whole spiel. There's no shorter version.
Well, I what I usually just say is to kind of pique curiosity. A lot of times, I say I have another company. D-Well. If I'm talking about outside the DJ stuff,
it's a pique interest.
So I say I have a company called D-Well Associates, and what we do is we help raise money for charities and nonprofits.
Okay.
And I just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough to intrigue.
And then and sometimes they'll ask, well, how do you do that? Well, and I go into a little bit more detail.
Okay.
But, I say that we help raise money for charities and nonprofits. And now when I approach companies, because this may have been, I'm not sure if this is what I discussed this last.
Yeah, I wish I had re-listened to it last night. I have the beats in my head, but I don't have it.
Sure. But in fact, I just did this last night. When I reach out to companies, so I reach out to companies and what I say to them is we provide services that can either generate revenues or save them money or a combination of both to companies.
Can you give me an example of a company? Like, you don't have to say a name, but like...
No, like, so I'll tell you right now, I'm reaching out to the parent company for Bocelli Pizza.
Oh, okay.
Okay, they're actually a holding company, so they actually own several brands, but Bocelli is their largest.
Yeah.
I'm reaching out to them to offer. One of the things is the energy services, so we can save their franchisees, let's say, costs on their energy bills.
Yeah.
Now, back a little bit, I actually have done this with a couple of my first client with this, utilizing this energy service that I have. And by the way, this is something that's kind of new since the last time we talked.
Okay.
I've actually become a energy broker through this other company called Energy CX. And they offer, the way it works basically is that I gather a utility bill from a company.
Yeah.
And they take it from me. I hand it over to them. They put it out to their 85 plus utility companies that they work with, and they bid. to see who's going to provide the best rate.
Okay.
And then when they come back with whoever come back with the best rate, they come back to me. We have a fee that's attached to that, but it's always lower than what they're paying.
Yeah.
And so then we come back to them. We show them what this is what they're paying now. Here's what your new rate would be, and when it starts. Oh, this is great. And then they sign up, for it. And we get paid. And then we donate at least 10% of what we earn to charities and nonprofits. So we've done this with a country club so far. We've done this with a smaller pizza chain than the Coachella. But we're in the process of that one. That one's going to close probably in the next few days. And then and now we're reaching out to different other ones. Like I'm reaching out to a senior care nonprofit organization. I'm also reaching out to, like I said, the Coachella parent company and some other ones as well.
Well, if we back up just a little bit, how does one get started down this road? This seems like a very specific avenue.
Yeah. Well, that happened because I was actually, I've been involved with direct sales companies, like the energy company I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And some Melaleuca, I mentioned right now. I'm listening to the last thing.
Yeah, you heard it recently.
Oh, that's right, Melaleuca. So Melaleuca is another direct sales company. I've been involved with companies like those for years. Back in 2006, let me back up a little bit before that. In 2004, one of the things that I wanted to do is to utilize those direct sales companies to, it could be self-serving, I guess, but in a way is to help provide some of the services, products and services that these direct sales companies provide to nonprofits, because it could be set up in a way where we could set up, let's say, for example, let's say a church, a nonprofit. And let's say one of the utility companies, Ambit Energy. We could set up where the church is the beneficiary, and then the church would be the actual client, if you want to call it that, probably the best way to describe it. And then the parishioners can switch over their utilities to Ambit, okay? They would pay their utility bills like they always do. They'd get a little bit lower rate. But as a result of them switching over, and the way we set it up, is that the church would get a part of that revenue. So it would be a fundraising activity for them without them having to spend more money to do it.
Now, do they get the lower rate because they're all bundled together? Like, it's a large group?
No, well, it's not because of that. It's because Ambit offers lower rates just in general.
Okay, so now this is the direct sales company?
Yes.
That's handling these utility, I guess being like a middleman, kind of?
Yeah, well, so Ambit is, the way the energy sector breaks out is that there's three components. There is power generation. Then they have the owner of the equipment of that transmits the power, and then you have the marketing and how do you buy and sell the power.
And is that all under the umbrella of the utility company?
It used to be until it became deregulated. In other words, in the United States, it's not deregulated in every state, but in about, I think, 20 plus states now, they deregulate. In other words, what they're saying, what they've said in essence is that it was a monopolistic activity. They owned the power generation, they owned the power transmission, they owned the selling of the power.
Yeah.
And 20 of these, the federal government said you can't own all three anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to give up one of those.
Yeah.
So what most power companies did is they kept the ownership of the power generation, they kept the ownership of the transmission lines and everything, and the maintenance of that. They gave up the selling of the power, and then that gave rise to these other companies that were allowed to step in and to be able to market and sell the power once it's been generated, and so on and so forth.
Is there a lot of those companies that stepped in?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them now.
Well, give me a ballpark. Is it 5 or 10, or is it 20 or 30?
No, we're talking hundreds of companies now,
okay.
probably. Dozens.
Okay, let's in this state or all around?
In all around, because you could be since if you live in a deregulated state in the power situation, the company doesn't have to be in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It can be anywhere. They can originate from anywhere. In fact, Ambit is based out of Texas.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
So, and then there, all these different companies. Once you're in a deregulated situation, the company who sells the power can be from anywhere. Okay. As long as you're in a deregulated state, they allow you to, and the way you may want to think about it, and on a consumer level, let's say you want to buy a Pepsi, okay? Pepsi company, PepsiCo, or I guess Yum Brand, more specifically.
Yeah, Yum Brands.
They own the facility that manufactures Pepsi. Okay, so they manufacture the bottle of Pepsi. Then they actually ship the bottles of Pepsi to the stores, but the stores are the ones that actually sell the Pepsi to the consumer, and that prices can vary. You go to Giant Eagle and order Gecko, price of the Pepsi are one price. You go to Walmart, the same exact bottle of Pepsi, different price.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the way, and that's the power generation works. Where you can, the same power is coming, doing the same thing in your home, but depending on where you get it from, the price can vary.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I had no idea how any of this stuff works. So really, that's what it's for.
Sure,
just to explain all this stuff.
And that's one of the things that we have to learn how to explain in a way that makes a lot of sense. Because when you're talking to folks that are trying to run a nonprofit or you're trying to run a company, they're really doing that. The last thing they have to do is try to learn something new that doesn't make much sense to them off the bat. Yeah. So you try to put it in terms that they can relate to right off the bat.
Okay, so now that we have a really good explanation of that I think everyone can understand.
Right.
Where do you fall into this? In your personal endeavors, what are you doing directly in this process?
Okay, so how I got started. Let me start where I started.
Let's see how you got started.
Yeah,
sorry.
So when I was in that, that was the direct sales part of it, and I wanted to hook it up with direct nonprofit organizations. Number one, it would help the nonprofits. Number two, it would actually generate more customers for me.
Yeah, and you're just putting the two groups together.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
They were these two things that existed. They weren't talking to each other, and I was going to introduce them.
Yes.
And so then in 2006, it just turns out that I was elected president of the local chapter of a national nonprofit organization. I was at one of their meetings, really, to talk about maybe hooking up them with one of the direct sales companies. And the president at the time was not going to run for re-election, and I was there that was my second or third meeting that I'd been there, and they kind of, and they knew me, by the way. I knew these people. They go, well, how about you want to be president? I'm thinking, well, I've never been president of anything before, really, but what the hell? I'll give it a shot. Once, right?
Yeah, why not?
And so, like I said, it was a national organization, a local chapter of a national. I'm like, they said, don't worry, we'll help you along. I'm like, okay, so they literally, the next meeting, they nominated me. I was unopposed because apparently I think come to find out nobody wanted this job is what happened, and I didn't know. So sure, I'll do it, And then so they elected me, and then I became president. It was a 2-year term.
Yeah.
So in 2006, and then I had to learn how to be president of a nonprofit. And so I'm learning this process. I'm learning about, parliamentary procedures and all this other kind of stuff that goes along with it. And part of our responsibility, my responsibility as president, is I have to organize a fundraiser. Because we were required by our bylaws to have to hold a fundraiser every year.
Just one.
Just one big one.
Yeah, no, it's still a lot of responsibility. I'm just saying, just one.
Yeah, we can have other fundraisers in the morning in the meantime, but we're supposed to have at least one big one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in a way, that's my nightmare scenario for me, because in our last conversation, I said one of the things that I hated was administrative work.
Yeah.
And now I got to organize a daggone, fundraiser. And so and I had help, of course. I had a staff and so on and so forth. They had a committee that they helped put together, and I did my thing. But I learned firsthand how difficult it is to do a fundraiser. Because number one, you got to put out lots of money up front.
Yeah, and just to get it going.
Just to get it going. And then you had to hope that enough people show up to this thing, that you recoup the money you spent in the first place, and then make something on top of that. And that's what you make. That's your fundraiser.
Yeah.
And when I learned that process, I'm like, this is stupid. I mean, but it's done all the time.
Yeah.
And knowing what I knew about the direct sales and everything else, I said, this is going to be easy when I sell this one. And because to sell the idea, because going back to the church example, you don't have to do anything except if you're already paying yourself or your utility bill. And you can do this with cell phones too, by the way.
Yeah.
With a different company, but all they're going to do is continue what they're doing. They're already doing this. We're just setting it up where some of that money doesn't go all to the company. Some get redirected to your church or whatever, your nonprofit. That's just easy.
Yeah, and I think the analogy you said earlier, just introducing two people, it seems that easy.
And then, in theory,
yeah.
Now here comes in practice.
Yeah.
When you start reaching out to different organizations and and even companies, many times, unless they are either already familiar with the process I'm describing, or they're open-minded up front, they tend not to listen to you. They tend to not, or they may take a meeting with you or not. And if they do take a meeting with you, they may be doing it because they're being, especially when you're dealing with a nonprofit, it's because they're trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Nonprofits don't want to be like that. Have a position of being mean to anybody.
Yeah.
But when you sit down with them, I can tell you many stories a couple of stories. The one I'll tell you, we'll share this one real quick. A couple of years ago, I reached out to the parent, the convenience store chain Kogo's.
Yeah.
We actually, I'm the kind of guy where I'll talk to anybody. I don't care who you think you are.
Yeah.
So I actually found out where the parent company of that, of Kogo's was. Apparently, Kogo's is a division of, at least it was back then, a division of Coltillon Dairy.
I had no idea.
Yes, Kogo's. That's Coltillon is Kogo's. And Co is the Coltillon.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't know that until I found the place, and they have the biggest in city limits dairy, I think maybe in the country. It's off of Brownsville Road. That's where the dairy is for Coltillon. And I found it, and I went there, and I walked in. It's funny. It was the weirdest. You walk into the office, it was truly almost a mom and pop. You walk in, the core was from like the 1970s. It was kind of cool, actually. And but I walked in several different times, and the door was unlocked, but nobody was in there. Like the receptionist was gone, the door was unlocked.
And you didn't call. You just
walked in.
Okay, good. I like it. I like the way.
I like springing on them sometimes. That way they can't tell me no on the phone. They can tell me no to my face.
Yeah, you can't hang up on me in person.
People get bold. You can hold a hang up on me. No, But if you walk in, and that's what I did. I finally got somebody. I said, who do I talk to? And it turns out it was the grandson of the founder.
Really?
Of Coltillon, who actually was running the place at that point. He comes out and he speaks to me, and he sits me down. I sit down with him, and he goes, "Look, I need to talk to this guy." So he sat me down with the other guy. I try to explain it to him, and like I said, that thing that kicks in. if he thinks, even when I start to explain it to him, when he gets to a point where he thinks he understands it, oh, I get what you said. This is what it. No, it's not that at all. And then, so this guy came back to him and said, no, I guess he got advised that I wouldn't deal with this guy, me. I wouldn't deal with him. Well, I didn't know that at the time, so I came back. And finally, the guy said, here's where you need to go. The division that runs Kogos is actually way out in the South Hills area, way past Central 3, South Hills Village. There's actually Mount Lebanon. That's where the headquarters for Kogos was.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I get in my car and I go straight down to wherever that's. And it was literally almost an hour drive from where they were to where they had to go. Yeah. So I went down there and, started that whole process over again. I walk in, who do I talk to here? That deal. Finally got to sit down with one of the vice presidents there. Long story short is that I finally got a chance to present the plan we had.
Yeah.
And they said, finally, after literally months, this is going on. This happened like October 2016, and then the whole process took almost a year. Yeah. But finally, they said, okay. they gave me their utility bills, which is what I was asking for. Yeah. So I can analyze them for them. This is before Energy CX. This is with Ambit Energy.
So before you just so I don't forget, when you go in and you present them with this idea, do you have any materials, or you just going off the top of your head?
Initially, no materials. Okay. It's just me. Yeah. And I'm only just asking this because all I really want to do is to set up who do I talk to, and when can we set up a time we can talk? I'll bring materials at that point.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but sometimes other than my car,
Yeah.
People, so
you get the utility bill.
I get all the utility bills. They literally send the email. Okay, they email me hundreds of bills because they have 50 plus locations, and I asked for all of them. So they sent me all of them, and I said, "Great. Now what do I do?" So I took the bills. I hand over to my person above me, my manager in Ambit. I said, they just hand me all those bills. Can you help me analyze these things? They said, yeah. So they went and they printed them out and they analyzed them. The long story short of it was, after we analyzed them and applied all the things that we could apply, we were going to save them something like $22,000 a year on their utilities. I was excited as all hell. I was like, woohoo!
You get to deliver the news.
And I go back finally. So after we get the results back, I call them back. We sit at the meeting. I sit down with them. I said, this is what we have. This is what you currently have. This is what we can do for you. This is the savings you're going to get with us. And they were like, oh, this is great. This is great. When do we get started? I said, we can get started as soon as you want to. Oh, this is great. Well, now our CEO told us we had to meet with some other person before we actually finalize a deal. We don't know why this is what they're telling me. We don't know why we can do this, but they're telling us we have to do this. Yeah. But we can't see we're not going with you guys. Oh, okay, great. And then I walk out of the going, walking with a little, I'm whistling, Macho Man as I walk out the door or whatever. And then about maybe 3 or 4 days later, I get an email back from them thanking me for my service. Oh, here we go. Thanking me for my service, but they're going to go with the other guy. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, now, I guess it's possible that I got whoever they sat down with gave them a better deal than I was able to come up with. But I can't imagine. I sold you $22,000, and you're gonna. It was heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking. But I learned stuff. Yeah, you learn stuff in that happen.
Well, I imagine just in this scenario, there's a lot of skepticism with, a big company or just a small little church or something. It's like walking up to someone and saying, "Hey, you want some free money?" You're like, "What are you talking about?"
That's
That's what I mean. Like, so the wheels are turning. They're like, what's the deal? Well, this guy's just showing up to my place and saying I'm going to save $22,000 a year.
Yeah. So that's our biggest challenge, and that's one of the things we had to incorporate in what we do when we talk to folks. There has to be an education component to this.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, how do you handle that skepticism? How do you put everyone at ease?
One of the great ways to do this, kind of way I did with you, is where I put it in a scenario that makes sense to them at a level that is almost intuitive. They get it, and then as long as you can speak their language, they're willing to listen. That's one of the things you have to learn, how to speak their language. Because I understand business, but I don't always speak the language of business.
Yeah.
And so when you go in there and say the things that they need to say, or you can say them so that you get their attention. Now, once you got their attention, explain it to them. And if you're talking about business, especially larger businesses, they understand numbers.
Yeah.
So you speak in numbers, which is I'm fine with. I'm a numbers guy. I like numbers. So if I show them what they have, what they could have, at least before I even show them the numbers, show them how we do it, and then add the component on. And by the way, you'd be helping out 4 children somewhere in the world, along that. They go, okay, and since we don't charge for the service, they really don't have a reason not to at least take a look to see what we can do for them, So, I'm in talks right now with, I told you about parent company for Frick Shelley. We've reached out to Eaton Park. That's the other organization company we're looking at. Giant Eagle is another one. So we look at, and then some other ones. There's some property management companies that we've come across that we want to talk to.
I imagine if you get in with property management, then you're going to get all kinds of new avenues to.
Exactly, and that's it. So, but that's just a matter of sitting down with the right people, and but that many times is the very hardest thing is getting to the person that car dealerships. That's another avenue we can go to. In fact, I did this with a different direct sales company, but we were to put together a plan with this car dealership that they were going to, if they would have, in this one, the way that this scenario was, this direct sales company offered a membership type thing similar to. Are you familiar with Rakuten? Are you familiar with Rakuten?
No, never heard of that.
If you see the commercials, there's commercials on TV about it now, where you sign up and then you go to the Rakuten portal online, and then that takes you to all these different companies that you can shop from, like you would normally shop from.
Yeah.
But when you shop through the Rakuten portal, you get some kind of a discount or cash back deal.
Yeah.
And it typically ranges from anywhere from maybe 0.5% all the way down to all the way up to 15-20% or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a direct sales company that has something similar to that. But in addition to the savings you get to get paid. Well, I came up. I devised this idea to utilize this program. So there's a fee to do it through this company called Team National. But the fee is kind of steep for individuals.
What are we talking, Steve?
Steep, in other words. So in essence, what you're doing is when you do it through Team National, any direct sales company you work with, there's going to be some kind of a startup fee to get started.
Yeah.
And the way I describe it to folks is that what you're really doing, in essence, is you're buying a franchise. It's a micro franchise. It's really small, but it's a franchise. And by definition, a franchise is a company that's put together a system, a proven system that's proven to work and make money. And you're buying that blueprint. You're giving them, this is a franchise.
We're in Panera right now for the list.
Panera Bread. Baker Square. Anyway, so these have you can if you had the money, you could walk in or go to approach Panera corporate and say, I want to buy one of your franchises, and then it's the cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Same thing with the direct sales companies. It's just that it's on the micro level and it's home based.
Yeah.
By the way, I did copyright the term, or trademark the term, home based micro franchising.
All right.
We own that. So anyway, but yeah, so in this case with Team National, the franchising I call it the franchising fee is it ranged anywhere from the actual franchise is usually like $50, to be honest with you. But
Well, give me like the difference, like the individual versus the corporate franchise.
Yeah, so the pricing was simply this: if you wanted to simply market if you wanted to be a marketer of Team National, the membership program that I was describing, you had to pay only I think it's $50. That was the franchise fee for that. But if you wanted to actually purchase the membership, it's a membership type thing.
Yeah.
They have two membership levels. There's the 2-year membership level, and then there's a lifetime membership level.
Yeah.
2-year membership level was $795
for 2 years.
For 2 years.
Okay.
And then the lifetime membership was $11.95. It was $11.95 for a lifetime.
I mean,
is that what it was? Wait, let me think. It's been so long since I had the lifetime.
You just ballpark.
I had the lifetime membership. So, and then you could pay it up front. You can finance it if you want to. Blah, blah, blah. But the benefits is that you get the same things you get like at Rakuten. If anybody knows what Rakuten is, you see that plus all these other different benefits that go along with it. Like you can get discounts on buying cars. You can get discounts on all these different things. You can get half off if let's say you're about to buy a new home or you want to renovate your home. You can get half off of everything. I mean, of the furniture, the supplies, and all kinds of stuff. So those are the two levels you can purchase. So you can make a decent amount of money selling those memberships, but $795 is kind of steep for a lot of folks, even for 2 years.
Yeah.
So the idea I came up with was, well, what if you sold that $795 of it, or the other $21.95? That's what it is. If you sold the $21.95 or $795, what if you sold that with a car? Wrap that cost into something else you're going to buy already. So
that number looks a lot less.
Yeah, because it's already, you're going to buy the car anyway, and the company says, or the car dealership says, and when you buy this car, you get this nice membership with it. I said, well, we could do it that way. So I started reaching out to different car dealerships. I got to the point where there's one dealership, I was able to sit down with them. Well, of course, same thing. I walk in, who's the manager here, And I was able to sit down with them, walk them through what it was, how it worked, what was the benefit for them, how we would actually benefit by helping charities and nonprofits, because I was working with different charities and nonprofits, how much money they would generate, not only for their company, but for these nonprofits. It made a lot of sense to this guy. And he's like, okay, this is great. And he started talking, well, this could be a problem. But then he started working with me. Well, I see a problem here, but we can actually do this to figure it out. I said, that's a great idea. I didn't want that. And then we started working together. And then it got to the point, and this is another year process. But it got to the point where it looks like we were about to do it. Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest mistakes that these management, let's say management has to go to ownership to describe this thing. Yeah. That's what happened here. They went and they tried to explain this program. Now he described it the way he understood it. I wasn't there. Yeah. Which means that the first question he got that he couldn't answer, they go, well, we don't see why this makes any sense to us. Meanwhile, it does make sense because this guy who actually was a GM thought it made sense, but they didn't see it that way. So he came back to me and goes, you know what? I showed it to management and our ownership, and they said they're not interested. Why you call me? I was supposed to be there. You could have. Oh my God! Because here's the thing. That deal right there was going to generate on the low ball in. I actually low balled this so badly. And I did that on purpose because what I wanted to happen was I promised this number, and it turned out to be way more than that. You over.
Yeah, then you blow their minds.
Then you guys think they think I'm the second coming of everything, you know. But the number the number I gave them that was the low ball figure was $3.2 million they're going to earn because of this. Yeah. $3.2 million. And the thing is, we would have earned something similar to that because we were the ones that set it up.
Yeah.
So, of course, just like with the Gogo situation, I'm walking out. Yes, sir. I got that. I'm just, you know, they call it the multiplication dance. It's a term they use when you're in sales. You know, you think you got it all figured out. All of a sudden, in your mind, you're a multi-billionaire, you know, walking out the door. But yeah, that was a situation where we were going to literally generate millions of dollars revenue. Because what I did is I used their numbers. I said, if you would have used this program that we're proposing on your last year's numbers, this is the revenue you would have generated. And that number was $3.2 million. And I said, well, if we do this year, blah, 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 blah. But that one fell through as well.
But that's going to be super frustrating. Because the one thing that screwed that whole deal up was you didn't get to sell it yourself. You had some guy who kind of knew what it was trying to sell it to the higher ups.
I think what it happens is that it doesn't occur to them to ask me to be there. I think what it boils down to. Because in other words, they think they get it, which they probably do because they got it. If they get it enough, they want to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess they think that it's simple enough to, well, it's kind of like where I was when I first started this. Oh, this should be easy to describe. You know, this is easy to explain.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to describe it to somebody that has no clue what you're talking about, and you're starting from zero with these folks with a concept that they've never actually experienced or dealt with before, and you're not trying to get them to do something, because in this case, you're going to spend money to do it, to get it up and running at least. If it's outside of it, if they think it's too much of a hassle and blah, 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 or too weird to them, they'll just, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly.
And so you got to get really good at learning how to become as basic and as straightforward and as succinct as possible. You know, one of the things they don't want to, you should be able to sit down. If you're sitting across from me, and I am the guy you're the owner. I'm the guy trying to convince you to do what I'm asking you. I should be able to sell you on the idea, at least get you to understand the idea within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, because if it gets
longer than that, then you're already out mentally.
Right. Because I'm sitting there going, and then I look at chart 7.25. You know, you're gonna lose it. Yeah. But if I get you peaked in 5 minutes, and then now you can ask me questions. Yeah. And I can answer questions on that, because then even when I was trying to put together my business plan, for example, for my company, and I was at Pitt at their business school for the small SBA type of thing. And I was trying to explain to them what we did. That's how I came up with it. That spawned the idea of the micro-franchising idea, because I was trying to describe direct sales to them. And so what you're saying is that, no, that's not what I'm saying. What the hell are you listening to? You know, I was so frustrated just trying to explain the concept. I was being clear. Don't get me wrong. I was being clear what I'm saying. But the problem was they were looking at this from a traditional standpoint. So the bottle that I was coming out of my mouth it was a square peg coming in, trying to get into a round hole that they had in their head. Yeah. And finally I said, you know what? I remember, I think I almost blurted it out. It's kind of like a franchise. And once I said franchise, they got that. Yeah. And they go, you mean like a franchise? And then I'm like, oh, they got that. Yeah, franchising. That's what this is. And that's how.
Speaking the language.
That's when I realized is that I am selling them the exact same thing. All I did was throw in the word franchise, and now they get it. Yeah. And that's when I said, okay, well, it's home-based. It's small, home-based micro-franchising. And then when you talk to other organizations like that, that
They're already painting the picture in their head.
exactly.
Already.
You don't have to, when you say those words, they get it, and you don't have to try to explain it anymore. They get that. So and so, but I remember one of the things that I said in our last conversation. One of the questions you asked me is, what is one of the best pieces of advice that you ever gotten? And I remember answering, "Don't give up. Do not give up.
Yeah.
Because don't quit. Because you don't. Whatever didn't work out this time, you take what you learned from that, apply it to the next time."
Yeah.
And literally, and I got to tell you what's going. I didn't get a chance to tell you what's actually happening now. In addition to the nonprofit thing, so when you're ready for that, I'll tell you about that. But
Yeah, let's get it because I know you got a heart out. And I got a heart out. So
sure.
Because I get some new fun questions here.
Oh, okay, sure.
At the end, but
so. One of the things that I have one of the micro franchisees that I have several micro franchises that are connected to my company now. The energy company, the Team National, that's another that savings company. I have a financial services company that I have I'm licensed with. I'm looking into doing getting with a micro franchising company that deals with, internet, cell phone service, and everything else. So everything that you can do, you can generate revenues from.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were almost a year ago. We were down through our financial services company. We were down at a job fair at Point Park University. And we were there, we were talking back and forth, and it turns out that one of the things that we offer to do, we do these, financial education seminars. Somebody from the Hill District YMCA was there and said we were looking to do something like this for our community. So we started talking back and forth. We set up a meeting with them, and we sat down with the guy that would be in charge of this. And, this is great. We teach people how money works, how investing works, and all the different things, and so on and so forth. This is great. So then, all right, now this may have been my fault because I started getting ahead of myself, maybe in at least in their minds, but it turns out that we started talking about all the other things we could do to help generate more money for the community, because it's about community wealth building.
Yeah.
And things we can reach out to companies, help participate in this whole thing. And once I started talking like that, I think I lost the guy. And then sure enough, a couple months later, he kind of said, thanks for reaching out to us, but it looked like what you're doing is something that we're interested in doing. Wait a minute, what the hell just happened? What I was doing exactly what they want to do, but I got ahead of myself.
Yeah.
And so they cut it off. So I said, okay, son of a bitch. You know what? Here we go again. So I said, okay, let me go ahead. I am not going to let this go. So I was going to, how do I get back in here with this? Well, something that happened like a month later, that was in February of last year. About a month later, the Shop and Save in the Hill District closed down.
Yeah.
And when that happened, it actually returned the Hill District to something called a food desert. Are you familiar with what a food desert is?
Yeah.
Just so for the fans listening right now.
Yeah. If you don't know.
If you don't know, a food desert is when you don't have a place to go to shop that has, fresh fruits and vegetables, and you don't have access to that. If it's within, and I think city limits, if you don't have one within a 1.5 or 2 mile radius of where you live, or in the rural areas like more than 3 or 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah, but it's a proper grocery store, not just like a corner store.
It's not a corner store. It's not a dollar store. It's not a gas station. It's not a convenience store. It's a grocery store that actually has fresh fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Because there's all kinds of health issues where there's no grocery store in that area. There's a lot of health issues because they're not getting proper food. That just closed. The Shop and Save just closed, and the organization that was helping fund all that just went under. And I started thinking, well, we need to do something about that. And so I started thinking about, well, what if we were able to, so one of the things I wanted to do is to help with the direct sales thing, was to you know how you walk into a Walmart or even Giant Eagles now, and you walk in, but in the front of the stores, they'll have all kinds of other different things. Especially in Walmart, there's a McDonald's a lot of times, or a Subway.
Yeah.
There's a hair cutting place. There's a bank. In a Giant Eagle, there's at least a bank in them now.
Yeah.
I started thinking, well, what if I put a direct sales company as one of those storefronts in the beginning at the front of a Walmart? You know, crap, you're already coming in through there anyway.
Yeah, you're already there.
Why not set up a situation where you could come in there, switch over your utilities, let's say, and we get paid for it. So that was the idea that I started having about that. Then I started thinking, well, what if now that the grocery store just opened, that space is just emptied out, what if we get another grocery store in there and then put one of my direct sales companies in there?
Right up front.
You know, and so I started making a lot of sense. So I'm thinking, well, how are we going to do that? And I started looking into, well, what if it was a co-op? I said, okay, so co-op, by the way, co-op means it's generally is community owned, or it can be community
At
owned.
least owned by like the employees. And
The employees, it can be owned by the public, it can be owned by, you know, the business, the people that, you know, a group of businesses can own a co-op.
Yeah.
So, for example, but it's shared ownership. Well, what if we put a co-op in there? And I'm thinking, okay. So I started researching that. But it turns out that co-ops can take anywhere from 3 to 10 years to get up and running.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what I said. And I want to wait 3 to 10 years, you know. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm familiar with franchises. Giant Eagle franchises their stores.
Yeah.
Why not see if we can get a franchise? Because that was, by the way, what was in there was a franchise. It was a shop and save franchise. But it was just wasn't a good fit. There was all kinds of problems apparently. But what if it was a co-op owned franchise?
Okay.
And I said, wait a minute. What if a co-op was formed, and then that co-op organization bought a Giant Eagle franchise? Then you have a brand name store that everybody knows. Not like, you know, like there's East End Food Co-op, but that's been around since 1971, so everybody knows that one. But it's still a dinker of a store.
Yeah, it's just a little guy.
It's just a little thing. Everybody knows Giant Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
You would literally have a community-owned Giant Eagle in that community if you did it as a franchise, and if you organize it that way. So I said, okay, I'm getting excited again. So I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around for who can help put this together. I found this organization called FCI, Food Cooperative Initiative. Food Co-op Initiative. I reached out to them and I called the guy, called the executive director, and I said, I would have walked in on him, but he was in Minnesota, so I couldn't.
Pick up and drive to Minnesota.
Yeah. I was like, I'll be back in 2 days, honey. You know. So I called them up and then I introduced myself and told them what I was trying to do. I said, is it possible for a co-op to own a franchise? Because, by the way, what this organization does is they help get co-ops up and running, and they've done over 100 of these across the country. That's what this organization has done.
Yeah.
When I called him, I said, can a co-op own a franchise? He said, I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me the question before. And I said, okay, well, then, I explained to him, I said, does that make sense? He goes, my first blush is, yes, you can do that. He said that probably the biggest hurdle would be, would the parent company be willing to sell a franchise to a co-op organization?
As opposed to just...
As an individual or a holding company or whatever. Yeah. That would be your challenge. Okay, let me call you back. And I got on the phone. I started calling up different people. So I ended up talking to a councilman, state reps. I already knew a state senator and one of our congressmen. They're all on board with the idea. Then I started reaching out to different organizations that are in the Mon Valley that have, not just in the Hill District, but in the Mon Valley, there's several food gatherings going on. Then it started kind of growing beyond what I had originally planned. I thought about just the Hill District. Well, apparently now it's grown to the Mon Valley in the Hill District.
Oh,
okay. So, and then I said, well, wait a minute. If we can do a grocery store that way, What about something? What about other couples? Can we own a restaurant? Co-op owned restaurant? Like you could have in a community so that community owns a restaurant. So now you can have a community owned grocery store, community owned restaurant. And the idea is that revenue comes back into the community. That's the point.
Yeah.
Instead of a corporation, instead of all the money going, it's like the direct sales model, where all the money comes going directly back to the corporation. That money is now distributed to the people.
All in the community.
In the community.
It's helping itself.
And then you take that, then now you can recirculate that money that way. You start now generating real community wealth that way.
Yeah.
So not only that, I reached back out to my guys at Ocelli Pizza, and we had a meeting with them back on the 19th of December with the Hill District. It's called the Hill Community Development Corporation. We had a meeting with them to talk about this idea, and that kind of went beyond what I thought too, because the Hill CDC, they started asking question of the parent company, can we own one of these as well? How much is this? I'm like, no, let me stay back. No, you guys keep talking. I set the meeting up. I'm talking to each other. And now they want to set up another meeting, which I'll be there for, to talk about, if we're going to do this, where we put a Vocelli store, because they also own like a yogurt, Sicilian yogurt. They own those as well. What if we put now we're talking about community owned. These things. So now we're going to reach out with that model to Eden Park. I don't think they franchise, but we're going to ask them, would you be willing to?
They don't franchise?
Not that no, they don't. Because I walked in, their corporation, their headquarters is in the waterfront.
Yeah.
And I walked in and I asked the receptionist there, I said, are all the Eden Parks, because they actually own Eden Park, they own the, what is that called?
That newer salad place.
They own that.
I forget the name of it.
Yeah, they own that.
There's a few of those.
There's several of those. They own a few other brands. I asked them, are these all corporate-owned entities? They go, yeah, the company owns all of it. So what I would say to them is, would you consider creating a franchise model for the purpose of selling it to a community? So that they could, take it to PR. And that's the idea with Giant Eagle. And so we're going to approach them with that as well. But when I started reaching out about this community-owned grocery store and community-owned restaurants, I got pointed to this guy, this CDS, Community Development South. They were the organization that was responsible for building the Brentwood Plaza, which is the big Giant Eagle off of Brentwood.
Yeah.
And they were now running in Clairton, running this big nonprofit, not big at all. I mean, it was a small dinker of a nonprofit grocery store, literally the size of an apartment. But they had a few, fresh fruit and vegetable selections. The place literally was no bigger than an apartment.
Yeah.
And some of their offerings were they actually went to Walmart, bought some cereal, let's say, and then put it in their store and marked it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a nonprofit entity. And I explained to him what I was trying to do. This guy got me in. He thought he liked the idea. He got me in touch with like 5 other different organizations, and as a result of that, we're going to be meeting sometime at the end of this month in the offices of Senator Brewster, State Senator Brewster's office, to discuss about getting a micro franchise, Giant Eagle, up and running several of them in the Mon Valley now.
Yeah.
So, and it still doesn't even count. Of course, once the Giant Eagles are there, one of those direct sales companies going to have to go in the front. I mean, obviously, So, but the thing is, kind of one thing led to the other, and every time something kind of went haywire, I learned something from that, and it led to something even bigger that I had to understand to make it work. And then that one kind of went under, because now we're at a point where this model, and by the way, here's another great thing about this. The model that I started envisioning of this whole thing with the Giant Eagle and everything else, that we shouldn't have Oh, because one of the things I did, I reached out to in the Hill District, there's a credit union.
Yeah.
And
yeah, the one up, it was up by the shopping center.
Yeah, exactly. I said, well, instead of having a bank in there, in the Giant Eagle, in the Hill District, why not put that credit union in there? Because number one, the credit union, by the way, credit unions are co-ops by definition.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a co-op in a co-op in essence.
Yeah.
And they have some advantages because they can actually help people that are unbanked get bank accounts, because credit unions have different criteria. In order to become a credit union member, you just have to many times just live in the area that qualifies you for a bank account.
Yeah.
Instead of going to PNC or anybody else where they have, if you have a problem, whatever, or you have a history of whatever, they won't open an account for you. But so a credit union, so we put a credit union in. What if we put other services in there, like, like or a direct sales company in there? But also, what if you put in other things like the credit union? What if you put in services that will help people get access to benefits that they're entitled to, but they're not utilizing?
Yeah.
Put that service in there in the store. They're going to be in the store anyway.
I think that's just a great thing to have in any community. People just don't know what.
Why not just put that in there, right? Yeah. And then what about putting something like at the pharmacy? Obviously, you can have that in there. And then I was doing research on that. It turns out this very model that I'm talking about already exists in Philadelphia.
Hey,
there is a company. They're a holding company. They own 10 or 11 grocery stores. What's the Quick Shop or there's something, I forget, but it's a full-size grocery store like Giant Eagle. They own like 11 of them, and they put them all in like food desert situations, and they did exactly what I just described. They have a credit union in there. They have a pharmacy in there. They have an office that gives you access, that teaches you if you have benefits that you're entitled to but you don't get. There's an office there, like a social worker type office there.
Yeah.
They even have an office in there. They partnered with one of the hospitals there, I guess. It's like in essence a medic clinic.
Yeah.
You walk in, if you don't even really have insurance or not, you can get treated for basics that you would normally go to like an emergency room for.
Yeah.
They treat those for $20.
Hey,
right there. And I'm like, this is great. Oh my God. I don't even have to describe this anymore. I mean, I'll describe it. And anybody that's skeptic, go, well, I don't know if this will work. Well, really? And I just pull up here, and they have videos and everything. Watch this 5-minute video. And the guy who owns this holding company that does this has a whole video talking about how they did it. I'm like, we can do this here with Giant Eagle. And then, by the way, that idea, in a way, was born out of a thing going on in Cleveland called the Evergreen Initiative, Evergreen Co-op Initiative. And that was based on a model out of Spain called Mondragon, and that's the largest co-op in the world. Mondragon, it started in the 50s by some priests, like Catholic priests priests, but it's grown to hundreds of companies. They employ like 80,000 people-ish.
wow.
They do like over 20 plus billion in revenue, and they own their own bank. They own their own university. They own all these different, companies that manufacture. They manufacture things like car parts for automobiles. They manufacture like commercial and residential washing machines and all these different things. Mondragon is the 7th largest corporation in Spain.
Wow.
And they took that model, and it's all owned. They're all co-opted. They're owned by the employees and the people that live there. They took that model and replicated it here in Cleveland, where they're doing something where they because in Cleveland what they did is they created a solar panel company. They created a commercial laundry service, and they also created a the largest in city in an urban area greenhouse, and the way they're able to support all that is through doing business with the local nonprofits and hospitals. They're their main clients, and they use those because nonprofits don't usually pull up and move out.
Yeah.
Or universities, they're going to be there, and they had to buy over $1 billion worth of stuff anyway a year. So they created these co-ops to sell them those things they're going to buy anyway.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the model we're utilizing to bring over here.
You've climbed up so far that now you can see all this other stuff happening, and they're basically, I don't say they did the work for you, but it's like, no,
well, they did do the work for me.
Here's the model.
And here's the thing that is so amazing about this, to me at least, is that how is it that they're not talking to each other?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
How is that possible? This is happening. This is going on. You guys are right next to each other. Just don't bother to say it's like neighbors never. You don't know who your neighbor is.
Yeah.
How do you? So I'm apparently I'm the welcome wagon. I'm the guy who comes by, introduces everybody to everybody else, shows them how they can be working together to make what they're doing a lot better if they do it together as opposed to doing it separately. And then we can generate. And by the way, I started looking into, the idea of the co-op idea. Then you started finding, when you do searches on co-ops, Google is and Wikipedia especially, they're really good at showing you other co-ops.
Yeah. When
you do the algorithm. Here's something that really got me really, really excited. When I started talking about the Giant Eagle idea, and the idea of putting one of our direct sales companies or whatever in there, and then putting a credit union in there. Just recently, within the last 2 years, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you go down McKnight in the Builder Square Giant Eagle up there on that hill, or if you go to the Giant Eagle on Route 8, that big Giant Eagle on Route 8.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't know if you noticed or not, but in the last couple of years, you go into those places, or even if you just drive by them, you see the Giant Eagle sign, but you also see an Ace Hardware sign.
I haven't noticed that.
Go to one of them today, or at some point.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk in, and the one in McKnight, they took over space next to the Giant Eagle, and they opened up. And what they did was they opened up an Ace Hardware, and it's connected to the Giant Eagle.
You know what? I think the one out in Apollo did something.
Yes, there's one in Apollo.
Yeah, I've been in that one.
Yes, and it's the same thing. Apparently, Giant Eagle did this with like six locations, but the same concept exactly. You go in there, most of it is Giant Eagle, but a huge chunk of it now is Ace Hardware.
Yeah,
and you can use your Advantage dollars and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing: Ace Hardware is a co-op.
I did not know that.
Me neither. I didn't know that until I was doing my research, and then I was looking at co-ops, and Ace Hardware comes up. Ace Hardware is organized as a co-op. This is great. I mean,
so it's also great news because they're already working
partnered with,
so they know the deal, they know the routine.
Like I said at the beginning of this whole thing, my biggest problem was trying to get people to understand the concept, to understand the idea behind what I'm trying to talk about. Giant Eagle already partners with a co-op. They already have one in their stores. And we're just talking about doing it in a little different way, this thing writes itself. Imagine the PR you would get by having a community-owned Giant Eagle in areas where no other store would go into.
Yeah,
and you could be the guys that say, it writes itself. I mean, just correct. And but the thing is that now it allows people to own the resources that generates revenues in the communities, and that's what's not happening. But it could be. Yeah. And I'm telling you, I think I may have. I've described this to other people. About how I see this whole situation. It's almost like this has actually happened to me before. This is when I was DJing at Tequila Cowboy.
Yeah.
I was coming in to do my shift. I got out of my car. I looked down as I get out of the car. I looked down. There's $100 bill on the ground. I'm like, I'm looking left and looking right, to see if anybody's around. I'm like, how did nobody see this? It was raining, so I pick it up, kind of shake it off a little bit. I put it in my car, let it dry off while I'm in the Tequila Cowboy. By the time I came out of my shift, 5-6 hours later, it was dry. And I got out a $900 bill. So my point is that I see the opportunity I see this opportunity of bringing all this stuff to communities that need it and presenting an opportunity to generate new revenues that didn't exist for these companies as a $100 bill. It's sitting right there. Yeah, everybody's walking past it for some reason. What the hell you guys? Okay, okay, I'll pick it up. And that's why I kind of see this. I kind of see this as that we can generate this. Almost all of it is already in place. It's like there's the thing where rocket scientists, were trying to figure out how to get pens to write in zero gravity upside down in space. So they put their best engineers on there with the high beam and everything else. Somebody come up and say, "Why don't you use a pencil?"
Yeah.
So sometimes
it's right there.
Sometimes the solution is staring you right in the face, and you're just too involved, wrapped up in what you're thinking, you're trying to do, and just to make it simple. These things already exist. Just get together, and we can make this work.
Well, just like last time, you leave me in a position where I have to get an update from you in a while, maybe another year. I don't know.
I would more than happy.
I think this is a brilliant idea, and I think more places should adopt stuff like this.
Well,
it's just the co-op thing in general.
We're going to see what happens because I think we're going to be able to. I think we're going to be able to replicate this as a model that can go anywhere in the United States.
Yeah.
Because once the model exists, it's just a matter of now moving it over to a different area.
That's the other thing. You mentioned that these other places are doing this, and they're not communicating with each other. I think if you put it into a package, where you're just like, here you go. Yeah, you just have the package. Yeah. You can have your own.
Yeah, and we have the support. And if you have a question, just give us a call. What happens when we've done it before. Here's what you do with that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's its own thing, and everybody wins.
It just makes, and now, because one of the things that have, it's an alternative to what's been, because, one of the things that I've been learning as I've been going through this journey, capitalism is we'll get to the capitalism thing real quick, but capitalism, people talk about capitalism is the greatest thing in the world since that's hit the world since, sliced bread. But there are benefits, obviously, to capitalism. It has created a lot of wealth in the world and so on and so forth. But at the same time, it also has created a lot of, there's that wealth gap that's been created.
Yeah.
And that is a side effect of capitalism, the way it is now, at least, the way capitalism is now. But there's a way, and I've been watching this guy. He was a professor, Richard Wolff. He's a professor at whatever. He's hard, he's Ivy League educated, but he's a guy that talks about, questions the model of capitalism that exists today. And he says that we can do better than this because literally the model we use, capitalism, every 4 to 7 years, it crashes. There's a recession. And we're in a weird situation where it's been a decade so far since the last crash we had. But the last crash almost crashed the world.
Yeah.
And so he's saying that there are ways to do different things that we don't have to have the cycle of crash and so on and so forth.
What was his name again?
Richard Wolff. He has a YouTube channel, Democracy at Work.
Okay.
And he puts out these things on a regular basis. In fact, I reached out to his over here. I called him.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Called him and said, we're looking to do some things here. And then I had a meeting with one of the people at Democracy at Work, and I shared with him what I shared with you. You know, I find everybody that I've shared what I shared with you, this is a great idea. This is great. And it just amazes me. How the hell did nobody think of this before?
Yeah.
It truly, I may have said this before somewhere along the line, but it's almost like this idea, I couldn't be the very first one to think of this.
Yeah.
And maybe I am. I guess somebody has to be first.
Well, there's also a lot of people that don't have any follow through. They're like, hey, wouldn't that be cool? And then they go to sleep.
That'd be great if that would be great if they ever can't pass me another slice of pizza, please. You know. Yeah. But I think that's probably more accurate. That whatever is that, even if this idea had been thought of, it has been followed up on, and it's that idea of don't quit. Because I kind of get pissed off when it doesn't work the way I thought it was going to. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, we'll see who's got the last laugh here, and sure enough, it just moved on. But like I said, it's just stuff. This stuff is actually in existence. And whenever I talk to, especially the nonprofit guys and the companies, they say, this is great. This is great. Now they're starting to figure out ways to do this. And, you know, I don't know who I call about making statues of yourself.
I'm sure there's a guy.
Oh, there's a guy somewhere. I have to figure, you know, I have to be standing like this or looking over the horizon or something. I don't know. Okay, no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. Statue. But, you know, but the idea, though, is that you could do something that could literally change how the world works in a way.
Yeah.
At least works better.
Well, I just think the idea of a community getting together. I just think with cell phones and the internet and everything like that, like nobody's getting together. When was the last time you were at a block party?
I don't know.
Nobody's hanging out with their neighbors.
And that's so funny. I saw something. It was a comedy thing on YouTube where it was a son got his dad like an iPad, right? And he's like, son, thank you so much. And he comes back a day or two later. His dad was using the iPad as a chopping board.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
that's what made sense to him.
It works that way. I guess it works that way, but you know, not realizing what he had his hands on.
Yeah.
And that's one more quick story, and I know you have to go. I have to go too. In fact, what time is it?
What time is it? We're all right. We're
Okay.
getting there, but we got some.
Okay.
We got a little time.
I've been right before I kind of embarked on this idea of the co-ops and everything else. I got hooked on YouTube.
Yeah.
From my cousin, my wife's cousin, more specifically, and I started looking at all these things. I came across this channel, and one of the episodes was these companies that blew it.
Yeah.
They were huge companies, and an idea came across their path, and they passed on it or they poo-pooed it, and now the idea that they passed on is now a huge company, and they themselves are either gone or really significantly reduced. One of those stories was when they talked about how, for example, Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. Then, of course, they had, back in the early days, they had Excite as a search engine, Excite search engine. Mm-hmm. They had a chance to buy Google. Or Yahoo did. Yahoo had a chance to buy, Google.
Yeah.
Didn't do it. We know how that turned out. So the story, the part of this episode that took up the most time was how Windows, the operating system Windows. In fact, how all operating systems work now. They use pictures. They use, apps and, icons and so on and so forth. Because before, when computers first started out, especially home computers, you had to be a programmer to make these things work. You had to know how to program.
Yeah, I remember working in DOS. It was
DOS.
Insane.
It sucked, right?
It was awesome.
It was it sucked. So until you learned how to actually type in your own code, to make your computer do anything. It was just, it was just a box on your desk. But it turns out that a company created an operating system that had icons, email, had its own network to email, groups of people at the same time. They could do all kinds of things with using icons instead of using code.
Yeah, just to visually make it.
Visually, it was a visual representation of code.
Yeah.
Turns out, and this was done in the mid 70s. This is like 74 they were doing this. Turns out it was Xerox.
Really?
Xerox created the first operating system that used pictures as opposed to code.
Yeah.
They even showed it in this video. They actually showed an old 1974 or 75 commercial from Xerox demonstrating this thing.
I think I'm going to Google that as soon as we're done here.
The name of the channel on YouTube is called Cold Fusion.
Okay.
And you Google that and you type in, Xerox and Windows or something like that. It'll pop up. It turns out that what happened. Now here's what happened. About midway through, this is when Apple was starting to get up and running. Okay, and Apple was doing its thing. Somehow it got invited over to Xerox because Xerox wanted to have them help them sell their machines. Because at the time, Xerox was only using this. It was only being utilized in businesses and universities.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but it was
Like a home thing.
Exactly. Apple, Steve Jobs comes in. He sees this thing, and he knew what he was looking at. He said, "This is going to be he's thought to himself, this is the future of computing. This is what it's going to be." And the thing is, you had a bunch of people who were copy people, had no clue what they just created. And, so he kind of played it cool, It's not bad. I'll tell you what, here's what I'll do for you. And he puts together this deal, in essence, steals it from Xerox.
Yeah.
And comes out with, that's when guys come up with the first the Apple II, utilizing icons. Right under the nose of Xerox. Xerox was the founder of the modern operating system, and they didn't have a clue on what they had a hold of. And then somebody like Steve Jobs came in, and then of course, Bill Gates came into that, and then they were off to the races, But the thing is that I feel that that's what the situation that we're in as far as what we're just talking about.
Yeah. People
have created all these different good ideas, and I feel like the guy. Okay, this sounds so arrogant. But I'm the Steve Jobs that can walk in.
Look at this. Look at this.
Are you kidding me? Don't play cool. Play cool. No, okay, that's not bad. Let me see what we got here. I think we just do this and then you take off, and then I walk out the door and run to my car. But so the idea though is, like I said, these things, Steve Jobs and Bill Gates didn't even have to invent Windows. It was already invented. They just were better at marketing it than Xerox.
You just gotta let that $100 bill dry.
You just gotta put it in the car and let it dry off a little bit. I find this so funny. So that's where we are. Now we're in the process of, and by the way, I also, that credit union in the Hill District, that's kind of a limited situation. So that credit union can go into that triangle there, but they can't go anywhere else outside of their area because of
it has to stay in the community.
In that particular one, yes. But there are other credit unions. I actually belong to a credit union, Clearview. And now Clearview, I joined that when I was working at U.S. Airways because that's what it was. Before it changed into Clearview, it was U.S. Airways Federal Credit Union.
Oh, okay.
So as an employee, I joined, but they changed it into Clearview. Now there's like branches everywhere. I actually went to 2 weeks ago. I went to the Clearview, and I asked them. I'm like, can you guys put branches in grocery stores, let's say. And they said, yeah, we could do something like that. They have to be in a certain area, whatever. We have to stay within, he said, we have to stay within like 15 counties.
Within 15 counties.
All right, I guess we'll have to work around that, you know. You know, I said, okay, but that's something that we can be doing? He goes, yeah. So to be able to put these credit unions in, like they do in Philadelphia, in the Giant Eagles, and do all this stuff. They said, so when I meet with these folks, by the way, I'm in the process of meeting with these guys at the end of the month, in this month. I'm saying to them, yeah, and this already exists, and I already talked to Clearview. They said this is cool. I already talked to whoever. They said they can work with us. It's like by the time I'm sitting down with them, this is all laid out for them.
Yeah.
So
I think you have plenty of information to be gathered from all these other ends. Right?
I tell you what, right now, my biggest, I guess, fear is that this thing becomes so unwieldy. I need help. I need to find some folks that know how to do stuff. I don't, like I said, it's weird because I guess I'm an idea man. I'll put the idea out there. I hand it off to the design team or whoever it is to make this thing work. But
it's good. You think big. I like that. You're very proactive, and you have the two things together, and then
because it came out of necessity. To be honest with you, it was a matter because what was happening is not working the way it should.
Yeah.
We get all this. When you get the 1% or top 1% owning the same wealth as the bottom 50% of the country, of the world, even.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that model. Yeah. And so we need to figure out a way to generate this money and get it distributed in a different way. Yeah. Without crashing the world economy in the process.
Well, that's such a large scale issue to deal with.
But it's doable.
But starting in the community, I think is great.
And it has to start.
It's doable. It's it makes sense.
I found out that even when you talk about like change in like laws at the federal level, that all starts at the state level and local levels first.
Yeah.
If laws get changed, that's how marriage equality happened. The first one happened with San Francisco back in the late 90s or whatever it was, early 2000s, where they did the first same-sex marriage. The mayor, in fact, he's the governor now of California. At the time, he was the mayor of San Francisco. Performed the first Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom?
He was the first.
I did not know that about him.
He was the mayor of San Francisco at the time. He did the first same-sex marriage wedding ceremony in San Francisco, and that started the whole process where it started to become legal in individual states to the point where they finally got challenged at the Supreme Court. And because it was already legal in so many states, the Supreme Court said, "Well, this is where we're going. This is the direction we're going.
This is the way the wind's blowing.
This is the way we
get it done."
So that's how I see this happening. It starts at the community level, and then it grows from that. And then there's a bunch of them out there, but they're not really talking to each other. That's what it boils down to.
Well, that's a big thing of all of these episodes. I think communication is such a huge
deal. Bernie. Should have Bernie 2020 sticker on here.
Oh, nice.
Or stroller.
But yeah, I forget what we were talking about. But yes, this is a good route, and I think that's a very positive place to end.
Yeah.
We get into some fun questions.
Sure.
Granted, I just came up with these last night because I didn't want to give you the same ones that I've given you before. So
right, gotcha.
Just a handful of quick ones.
Sure.
How do you tie your shoes?
Oh, I tie my shoes. Typically, I put on left and right. And
okay. See, I knew this was going to cause trouble. All right. Traditional or bunny ears?
Bunny ears.
All right.
No, I'm sorry. Traditional. I'm sorry. You don't make the bunny ears. That's when you first learn. Okay, no. I never learned that way.
I've been floating it around a lot.
I'm sorry. Let me back that up. I do traditional. I do bunny ears.
Traditional.
Okay.
What movie made you cry? You ever had a movie make you cry?
Oh, yeah. More than one.
Just throw the first one that comes to your mind.
The first one that made me cry. And then it got ruined by a little kid. He was actually funny. But when I went to see Star Trek, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Con.
The moment Spock died, well, not then actually. I didn't cry when he died. What made me cry was when Captain Kirk was giving his eulogy.
Oh, yeah.
And his voice cracks at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh my God. That's what made me, that was the first movie that made me, I didn't even think about it right now. Oh.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, so that one,
I guess. That question's sticking around. What do you do for fun? Like good hobby. What do you do when you just want to have a good time?
Have a good time. A couple things. I listen to music. I'll get on the sometimes I put my headphones on and just listen to music that I don't hear anymore. Back in the day when I was in college, I made mixtapes, and every once in a while I'll hear a song, and then oh man, I remember when I made a mixtape. This was the next song, and I'll play it, and I got it usually. So I'll do that. That's one way I have fun. Another way I have fun is sometimes I'll just get in my car and go somewhere and eat somewhere that I've never been before in the Pittsburgh area.
I like that. I've been trying to do that as much as possible.
Just
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you should I never knew this was here. I just things like that.
There's a lot of little tucked away
places and areas that you've never been to. One of the places I'm discovering that for whatever reason I've never been that way that much, down that direction that much, is going 79 South in this Strabane area. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, I don't know my way around there.
Me either. But I'm going to.
Yeah, figure it out.
But yeah, so that's what
I like that. I think that's a great answer. I might have asked you this one before, but I'm going to ask it again. Secret talent. Something you're good at that people wouldn't expect.
Oh, okay.
Because we know you can sing and dance and all.
That's true.
Who doesn't know that? You're very talented.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows that. The secret talent. I don't know if it's considered a talent, but it's pretty rare, I found.
Okay, let's go with that.
I have double jointed thumbs.
Is that what?
I can do this. You can too. People can't do that.
I didn't know people couldn't do that.
No,
I just learned something about myself.
People, that's a genetic trait.
Oh.
Most people's thumbs can't go past this.
Oh, okay.
But if you can do that, that's considered rare. You we have the same talent apparently.
Apparently, I didn't write that down.
Well, wait. Okay, that's a genetic. Let me see if I can find a way of something else. A talent, an actual talent. Okay. I'm fairly good at math.
Math? That's a talent.
I mean, math.
I'm terrible at math.
Well, I can
do money math, but anything past that, if you start throwing a letter in there, I'm out.
Math, and then I guess another talent would be to conceptualize. I can conceptualize big things without much trouble. I can
see that. That makes a lot of sense.
And then that's because I think a lot of it is because my interest of astronomy. When you think in terms of the universe, you have to think bigger than a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I forget if we went into all that in the episode that I aired, or we're saving that for this one. But it's coming out either way. We went into space pretty hard last time. What do you do to relax?
Oh,
because you had a rough day, you just want to chill out.
I come home, and usually at night with me, I'll watch. So if I come across like one of my favorite movies, I'll watch, like one of the Marvel movies, or I go onto YouTube and see what I can learn.
Yeah, love that.
I find that the YouTube thing, I've learned so much. I guarantee you, I probably have enough knowledge over YouTube back in here. I probably have 2 degrees worth of knowledge of stuff.
It's so crazy how that works too. Like I watched a guy detail an SUV for 26 minutes last night. Just detail. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. I kind of want to know how to do that. I didn't type it in or anything. It just popped up.
I actually know, for whatever reason, I don't know. Oh, I know how, because one of the things I listen to is relaxing. Is I watch PBS, and I actually put it to go to sleep at night. They return to PBS, a channel called Create actually, and they have that painting or sewing and stuff like that. This one thing, like the Japanese printmaking. You know, they make those like pictures that you can, and they show the process of how this is done. There was a video by the Smithsonian. They bring this guy, and it was a 17-minute video. I sat there and watched the whole thing about how you have to, 14 blocks, 15 colors. This guy's explaining the whole deal, and he shows you how he does it. And then, sure, okay, this is great. It's pretty relaxing too. I came across another video of some old white dude living in Japan for like 30 years, who's got really good at doing that very same thing. There's a video of him, a three-hour video of him carving a block out of wood, creating the print and everything else. And the thing is, as he's doing it, he goes, I'm really thinking, he has to water the block now. Oh, and he waters the block. Oh, now he's thinking, I know the steps now.
Yeah. It's like, it just sunk in.
It just sunk in. But yeah, it's learning stuff you don't realize you learn because of how you're learning it.
Yeah, you don't even, your algorithm's just throwing all kinds of weird stuff at you.
That's so funny that I could, if I had to make a block out of those Chinese prints, I could probably do it right now.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's so funny.
All right.
Exactly.
What do you generally want out of your day?
One out of my day. I want to get something accomplished in the direction I'm trying to move.
Yeah.
Whether it be, it didn't always work out that way. I mean, some days there are some days I don't feel like doing a thing. But if I can get myself to do something, learn something that I didn't know, or get a contact that I wanted to contact and get that phone number or email, I want to actually every day get something done in the direction I'm trying to move into.
Yeah.
That doesn't, some days I get a lot more done than others, but every day I try to do something. And I can't imagine, unless I may be really sick. I don't care about, don't get me wrong, if I'm sick or whatever, I don't have a problem taking a day off.
No, it's not like that. It's just like, in general, you wake up, you just...
Okay, so yeah, because I'll be honest with you, when I wake up, I wake up thinking about all this. My day, it goes, I think about all this. When I go to bed, this is what I'm thinking about. So it kind of moves you along, whether you like it or not, in fact, many times.
Yeah, that's good. All right, last one here.
Okay.
What's the last movie you saw in a theater?
Oh, I just saw it. That would be in a theater. That would be. I'm trying to remember that was the last one. I'm pretty sure it was Avengers Endgame.
Oh, there you go.
It was Avengers.
That's a movie theater movie.
Yeah, all
so
big
you
time.
gotta see that in a theater.
Avengers Endgame, I think. No, I'm sorry. That's not true. It wasn't Avengers Endgame. I saw that in the summer. This past November, I saw the movie Ad Astra.
What did you think of Ad Astra?
I found it interesting. I mean, it was I don't know how successful the movie was. I know when I went, it was a matinee, and I went there, and I was the only one in the theater. Mm-hmm. Did you see it?
I did. I have some strong feelings about
it. I found it to be an interesting take on the search for life in the universe. I mean, I guess that what they were doing is possible, but I don't know if you picked up on this, but according to the theme of the theme of the movie, they didn't find anything.
I watched a ton of explanation videos and stuff after it. Nothing satisfied me. I mean, it was visually gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, well done movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I thought that could have been called Daddy Issues in Space. Like, there was nothing. was nothing there for me.
Daddy issues is big.
Yeah, it's just a lot of long looks out of windows and like, all right, I get it.
Well, yeah.
I wanted some hard sci-fi. I wanted some good.
I mean, you had some of that.
It was a little bit of it.
But
It was enough to keep me in my seat.
Well, I did watch a couple explainer videos as well, and the one talking about how that big antenna that he fell off of at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
You know, that was
an intense scene.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
And then you said that the dad goes out 20 years prior to Neptune to set up an antenna to look for life out there. I'm not following why you need to go to Neptune for that one, but
Yeah,
you know,
there was holes in the story too. It just
but like you said, it was visually it was that's what got me there in the first place.
visually very compelling.
Yeah, like the moon base, that was cool.
All of that stuff, yeah.
The Mars.
I like the little touches in that little space airport that they had. They really made it seem like that's what it would be.
Yeah. I can imagine. And this, by the way, just real quick. One of the things.
Yeah, good, because this is a weird place to end.
Ad Astra, guys, Ad Astra. But one of the things that my interest in the universe, and just last night I was watching a couple of videos where they do this video about size comparisons of everything, how the size of the things are relative to other things. They start with in this case, it started with like one of the larger asteroids, and then they go to the size of the moon, the Earth, and the planets, and so on and so forth. And then they go into the largest planets ever discovered, and then the largest stars ever, so on and so forth. And they back it all the way out to the size of the universe. But here's the thing. It turns out that apparently, at least theoretically, that the multiverse exists. So we are one universe in a countless number of universes. Universe, I don't know what the word is, but but the thing, and this universe has this specific physical properties, laws of nature.
Yeah.
The next one over may have a completely different set of physics that don't have nothing to do with the ones we're in. I tell you, I did remember saying something about this one the last time we sat down.
Well, this is good. We'll wrap it around.
When my time's up here and my soul gets to go wherever it wants to. Now I'm thinking, well, I'm gonna find out everything about this universe. I'm going to these other ones.
Yeah, check this other stuff.
I gotta check this out because I saw a physical representation of what that might look like, and they were bubbles, like bubbles.
Yeah.
In a Coke or something. Yeah. And each bubble was a universe. I'm thinking, I could do this until the end of everything. And the idea of that, just that's my idea of heaven. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about that last time.
That is my idea of heaven. To be able to, there's not only this universe, there are billions of other ones out there. Oh my God! I tell you what, that would be, and then to learn all about the physics and all that kind of stuff in the other universe, and then how I don't know. I'm not afraid to go. I tell you what, it's not don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to hasten the idea. I'm not trying to hasten my exit here. I'm just saying that when it's my time, boy, I tell you what, I'm packing my celestial bags and I'm going, boy.
I think that's an even better place to end. It's just that the theme of this whole thing is just think big. Think big.
Yeah.
It's way too big. Thank you so much for
No, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.